Welcome to the Country Scroller. In today's video we're going to teach you how to do inlay with the scroll saw. Stay tuned. Welcome back from the introduction of the video. In today's video we're going to be doing a how-to video on inlay on the scroll saw. Just a little while ago, as in a week ago, I had made something for another YouTube channel by the name of One Pug Life Entertainment, and he showed it off on the video, and because of that I got like 70 subscribers in the course of a day or two. So this is sort of follow-up video on that and saying thank you to him for that shout out. And what I did was an inlay thing, so I decided I would show the technique of inlay with the scroll saw. So anybody that subscribed to me from that channel, this is a sort of how-to video of how I did that process. A little different in the technique of, I didn't put a backer on the project we're doing today, and it's not as complex. So just a little tutorial of how I did it in case you're interested, as well as if I didn't cover it in depth enough in the past inlay videos that I've done over the course of all the Country Scroller videos. This is a chance to get all the details and hopefully enough information for you to do it if you are a woodworker watching this video. So I just picked this little Well & Jennings logo to do today, and it's maple walnut, 1/4 inch thick. So let's start making this inlay. Alright, to start this inlay, what we'll need first is our pattern, and this is a Well & Jennings logo. So in case you're not familiar with that, that's a country music artist that I'm going to be making that logo there. Actually cutting out this is pretty easy, but if you want to learn how to just cut something on the scroll saw, go back in past videos and I have plenty of that. But today's video is mostly just how to do the inlay with the scroll saw. And again, there's many other ways to do inlay on the scroll saw, but this is one of the ways that I learned how to do it. So what you'll need is the 2 pieces of contrasting wood, or whatever wood you're using, and I have maple and walnut for that, and then I have a backer that will hide the inlay on the back when we're done. And the main thing that you'll need to learn how to do with this inlay is the angle at which you cut it. So what I have here is a scrap piece of maple and walnut that is the same thickness as the inlay we're going to be doing on the final piece, which is 1/4 inch, and we'll practice doing the angle cuts on that with the scroll saw to get the fit just right. Now that brings me to another point. The angle is determined by 2 things: the thickness of the wood and the size of the blade that you use. So for instance, there's many different sizes of blades that scrollers use, and the one that we're going to be using today is a number 1, and that's the size. Number 1, number 3, and number 5, those are all sizes of the scroll saw blades. So if we're going to be practicing with a fresh number 1 blade, then we need to use a fresh number 1 blade on the actual inlay piece. If you use that same blade or something and it's you got the angle just right and you switch to like a number 3 or something, that will obviously change the angle because the saw kerf is thicker, and just all those variables. So you want to stay consistent with the practice piece to the final piece. So if you're using 1/4 inch wood for this, then you're going to have to use it for this. And the angle is determined by the practice piece, because I can't give you an exact angle because some people use different size blades with different thicknesses of woods. So it's all off the practice piece here. So let's go to the scroll saw and start practicing an angle real quick. So here we are at the scroll saw, and with a 1/4 inch piece of wood, I will tilt my saw to around 3 degrees just to start. And that may be too steep of an angle, so we'll go ahead and try that, and then we'll see how it fits. And also for the angle, you want the angle pointing to the inside. So say you're cutting a circle, you want the angle to be pointing towards the center, not away from it. Alright, so now with this practice piece, we can take this apart and see what we have. And the maple piece will fall right in, and actually that is a perfect fit already. So I've done a few of these taking consideration, so you won't get that lucky, but this is pretty much flush on the front and the back side. So if you have too steep of an angle, that's actually better than too shallow, in case you don't get it just right, because if you have too shallow of an angle, it will go all the way through the face of the wood, and then we're going to glue it to a backer anyway, but then there'll be a gap around the top of it, and you'll have to fill that in, which isn't a problem, but it's something you can avoid. So if it's protruded a little bit and it's you know, recessed in the back, that's alright, because you'll be able to sand the front side flush with the surface. So it's better to have it too deep than shallow, but I think this will do alright. So 3 degrees is what we're going to be using for a number 1 ultra reverse tooth blade, using 1/4 inch thick wood. So that's a reference if you're going to follow along with this, other woodworkers on here. So we'll use that. So what we're after on this is we're just going to inlay inside this W, and then this black outline will just be walnut there, and then outside of that will be nothing. If you wanted to set all this inside of like a square background, then that's sort of what I called a compound inlay, because you have 2 separate things going on. You have the outside that you have to glue in, and then you have to repeat another inlay inside. You can't do them all at once because you have to have different wood here than here. But we're not going to do that. This is just a simple tutorial video of how to do the inlay. So we're just going to be inlaying the inside. So since I want walnut to be the walls and maple to be inside here, I will use maple on top, because that will drop inside the walnut like it did here. So imagine that little circle there is the W. So affixing the pattern is pretty easy. It's just like any other pattern you'd apply on the wood. And if you're here just to watch the inlay and you haven't visited my other videos, just a quick overview of how I apply the patterns. First, I use masking tape, because that helps peel up the pattern from the spray adhesive that I'll use next to apply the pattern, and then put it on top of the masking tape. And then I finish off with some clear box tape, and that helps 2 things. It lubricates the blade to keep it from burning, and also in case you don't have enough spray adhesive on the pattern, it will hold it down temporarily. So those are the things you'll need to apply the pattern. So I'll get the pattern applied to just the piece of maple, and then I'll be back to show you a way to put it onto this. Alright, so now I have the pattern applied to the piece of maple, and to affix this to the piece of walnut, you can do it 2 ways, or the 2 ways at the same time. You can either wrap it all in box tape to secure it so it doesn't, you know, move around when you're trying to cut it out, and that's what I do for all of them really, but in this case we have a lot of waste area around it, because we're just going to cut the outside lines of the W there. So what we can use is just these little pin nails, and just nail them into the waste area around the board, around the work. So that should do it. And it's also important to have them not poking out the back, because that will scratch the surface of the table of the scroll saw, and that you don't want that, obviously. So the next step to do is drill the entry hole for this. And since the maple will drop into this white area inside the W, for me it's easier to hide the hole if it's in the walnut. So we'll actually drill it inside the black area. And I'll go ahead and do that and then show you where I placed it at. So if you can see that, I drilled the hole right inside it, so I'll still be able to cut around that with the scroll saw. And hiding the hole I'll talk about later after we cut this out, but it'll be a putty that I'll make from a mixture of glue and sawdust, and that will plug the hole, and then you won't even be able to see it. So now we can go to the... Alright, now we're over here at the scroll saw, and again we're going to be cutting to the inside, so we'll go around the W like this, you know, around that direction. And one more thing I wanted just to bring up, in case you're wondering about the hole I drilled, if you had to drill it at an angle or something, no you don't, because the hole I drilled is a 1/16 inch hole, but the blade is much smaller, so if you drill it at 90 degrees, the 3 degrees that the blade's tilted to can still fit in that hole, and it's not gonna, you know, put pressure on the blade from bending or anything, so that's not a problem. So now we can start cutting. And one more thing, with a fresh blade we did all the testing of the angle and one test, but if you did multiple tests to get the angle just right, you want to keep the angle consistent throughout the cut. So any pressure you put on the blade, that could change the angle from, if the blade got dull and you forced it into the wood, then it could change the angle, and then the fit at the end would not be correct. So let the blade do the work, and then it should all work out.
Well, the only 4 things in life that make it worth living: guitars are tuned good and firm, feeling women. I don't need my name in the marquee lights, 'cause I got my song and I got you with me tonight. Maybe it's time we got down to some basics in love. Let's go to Lukenbach, Texas, with Waylon and Willie and the boys. This successful life we're living's got us feuding like the Hatfields and the boys. Between Hank Williams playing songs, Newberry's train songs, Blue Eyes crying in the rain. Out of Lukenbach, Texas, there ain't nobody feeling no pain. Let's sell your diamond ring, buy some boots and faded jeans, and go away. This golden tide's killing me, and in your high society you cry all day. We've been so busy keeping up with the Jones, 4-car garage, and we're still building on. Maybe it's time.
So now we're done with that cut. We can take this piece out. It's easier to pop it up from the top. And you can throw away the walnut one, or you can keep it, I guess. But the one that you'll need is the maple one, because it'll drop down into the walnut. But while we're here at the scroll saw, I need to cut out the outside of this W here. We can change the angle back to 90 degrees with the table, and just cut it out. If you took the piece of maple off, obviously you wouldn't have the pattern anymore, and we need the walnut piece. So I'll just go ahead and change the angle back to 90 degrees and then cut it out.
We got back to the basics in love. Let's go to Lukenbach, Texas, Waylon and Willem and the boys. successful life we're living's got us feeling like a happy little boy. Between Hank Williams' pain song, Newberry's train songs, Blue Eyes crying in the rain. Out of Looking Dock, Texas, there ain't nobody feeling no pain.
Alright, so here's our pieces, the walnut, the outside, and then the maple inside. And if you check the fit, it sits in almost flush. We'll just have to do a little bit of force to get it in there, but we're not going to force it in until we glue it. And after looking at the back side, I like that, so I'm not going to cover it up with a backer. So that'll even make the glue up easier. So to glue it, I'll just use some yellow wood glue. And when it comes to gluing up inlays, it's pretty much the easiest glue up ever because you don't have to worry about any squeeze out, and I always have tons of it, so you can just sand it off later. So I just glue the inside of the wall of this W and then place it into the workpiece. Now it's sat almost flush there, but we're going to go ahead and just pound it in a little bit more, and so we don't have anything stick to the wood. We're just going to use a little bit of some of this wax paper. And that's pretty much flush. In the back side it's not super flush, but we'll be able to sand it flush after the glue dries. So now we can just wait for the glue to dry, and then I'll be back with you to show you how to, after we sand it, fill in the entry hole. And then it's almost done. Alright, now the glue is dry on the inlay. So now we can sand it before we go ahead and plug that entry hole. So we'll sand it next. But before I do that, this was the maple top that I had on top of the walnut, and it had the black pattern on it. That's why that's black. I went ahead and painted the outside of it, so now I can take that pattern off. So I thought that was pretty cool. So over here at my 4" by 36" belt sander, and I'm just going to sand both sides of this until they're completely smooth and flush. And since I did the grain the same direction on both, it's alright to do this, and it won't scratch across the grain and make the finish look bad later on. So take that in consideration when you're doing the glue ups or the inlay. Don't cross the grain of the pieces, make them the same. So alright, now we're done sanding both sides so they're nice and flush. So now we're going to go ahead and look at this hole once the camera focuses. Alright, so there that is. And how we're going to take care of that is, again, making a glue and sawdust putty. And it doesn't take much just for one hole. So here's the sawdust and the glue, and I'll just mix it to, not yellow anymore, it's all brown from the sawdust, but still wet and tacky, so it can get into the hole and it doesn't just flake off. Because you want to glue itself in, not just stick there. So just cover the hole real good and both sides, because it's not going to push all the way through. And it looks messy now, but we'll sand it once it's dry, when I will take maybe a half hour, a little bit more, and then. Alright, now you can barely tell that that hole is there, even with the camera not focused, but trust me, it's a little bit more hidden. And a way that you can tell, because this is how it goes, that this is the front and this is the back, is I just went ahead and signed it and the date. And I'm not really a big fan of having this exposed. Every inlay that I've done, I always cover the back with a backer or something, so this is alright though. The lacquer I'm going to use is Rust-Oleum clear lacquer, and this is going to be the finish I'll use. And this will really make the contrast to the grain and all that, so this is what makes it look good. So there's the finished product.
Thanks for watching this video on the inlay with the scroll saw. And although there are many different ways to do inlay with the scroll saw, this is just how we do it. We learned this technique a couple of years ago from watching videos of Steve did, who is a scroll saw woodworker.
Thanks for watching. I hope this helps anybody that's interested in doing inlay with the scroll saw. I believe this technique is called the double bevel inlay because it's got the two pieces of wood with the bevel and then one drops into the other, so I think that's what it's called. Again, there's other types of inlays like marquetry and stuff like that, but this is the most simple way that I know how to do, and that I know how to do properly, so I can actually teach it correctly in case you're watching it. So thanks for watching this video. I'm Dustin.
And I'm Dylan.
We'll see you next time on the Country Scroller.